observed to be the true benefactor of these marshes, burrowing in the mud and maintaining small colonies of life in the waterholes thus made. One of the most ancient of beasts, an aboriginal reptile. He had watched them whenever he could, marvelling at the perfect adaptation to the circumstances of their lives. In this case, for reasons obscure to him, there seemed to have been no diversifying of the species. The alligator had neither died nor changed. The churchman, who had pilloried and imprisoned him, and given him, before ever he stepped onto the deck of a slave ship, the horror of degradation that had led him by devious courses to this place, they might have pointed to the alligator as a proof of original creation, one of those who had voyaged with Noah. Climates might have cooled and warmed again, mountains risen, continents formed, but in the watery recesses of the world this same beast lived on. And it was because he was perfect. On such a scale of time, the 12 years of the colony was too short for detection, let alone measurement. It was less than a breath. Yet it was a whole life to him in the beating of his heart. He had been happier than he could have believed possible in this forgotten corner. But increasingly nowadays it seemed to him that this short history had assumed a definite shape, determined by the violence of its beginnings. A shape implies an end. With a sudden deep uneasiness he thought again now of Kireku and of those who moved in his orbit. Barton, Libby, men by nature subservient, quick to see a rising power. Kireku was growing rich. He had trade links not only to the north, but even, it was said, with the sea-going Indians who crossed the straits in their dugouts, carrying dried fish and heron plumes and freshwater pearls to the Spanish islands. The man who had accused Iboti of witchcraft was a fellow tribesman of Kireku. Made restless by these thoughts, Paris got up, crossed the corner of the compound and passed through the gate in the stockade. He walked some way through the forested ground that lay on the seaward side of the settlement until he found the little rocky eminence among the tall slash pines where he often sat in early evening, his favourite time here, as it had been at home in England. Trailings of cloud had formed earlier, but these cleared as he sat there, and the sky took on a look of readiness for the dark, that depthless clarity which is no colour and the womb of all colours. He was looking eastward to where the sea lay, invisible but always present, revealed by something wild in the quality of the light above it. They had built their huts out of sight of the sea, on the slightly higher ground between the barrier hummocks near the shore and the lagoons and grasslands behind, a site affording some defence against marauders and some protection from the storms that swept the coast in late summer, while still open to the prevailing sea breezes that combed through the pineland ridges and freshened the exhalations of the swamps. It seemed to Paris, as he sat there, that he had somehow earned the right not merely to live in this place, but to love it. A stronger claim of possession, one enforced by the things of deepest familiarity that surrounded him. The invisible sea that cast its light, the dark snake birds already flying up to roost in the high branches, the breeze moving in the palmettos, stirring the leaves against the palm trunks with a sound like the faint clashing of cymbals, the slender blades of the leaves themselves, curving in perfect gradation, like the first wall of a green shell. Fear of loss gave a sharper intensity to his perception. This was the place that suffering and crime had made their own, where he had been able to save some lives and ease some pain, where he had found a refuge and a physical passion undreamt of in the arms of a woman still in most ways a stranger to him. A vagrant beam of sunlight fell across the clearing and lay briefly on the papery bark of a gum resin tree, lighting the peeling strips to a red glow as if the tree were burning. The upper branches were hung with drapes of green moss, dark in the centre, fluffed with sunlight at the edges. Paris looked up beyond this, to where branch and foliage and festooning moss.
In 2 miles, take exit 64 for Texas 335, Sunsea Road.
Fused into a single veil-like substance. Slowly, his anxieties receded. As he began to return, he was met by a voice calling for him through the trees, and knew it by something sorrowing in the tone for that of Kenka, who was Tabakali's son and